Welcome, everybody. So nice and so freaking wonderful to have you all here for a free taster tonight. Now, before I say anything, I will just like to tell you to have a look at the window behind me. This is a stained glass window from 1700s. We are right now in a hotel room that used to be a church. Now, when I say church, and knowing that I'm in Belgium, you would also know there's a lot of charge on a church in Belgium, Catholic Church in Belgium. So it's very funny because today, actually, it's not today, it's yesterday, my husband came to me and he said, "We're going to elope." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, I'm not telling you where, I'm not telling you what we're going to do. We're eloping." So we packed the bags. He said, "Put in something sexy." I'm like, "Where do we go?" He said, "Pack your bags." And today we left. And I asked, where will you bring me? What? Where? You know, nosy lady. But all the way, ever since he said we are going to elope, I kind of was aware of this energy of, how should I say, holiness, of sober, of silent, of, something like, something that it's not me. Yeah, right. It's not me. I'm not that. I'm not. And I was like, well, this is funny. It has the, the air of a church. So lo and behold, he brings me to Mechelen. And he doesn't say anything, but then I remember that was this controversial church that has been turned into an absolutely gorgeous hotel. And he said, "Well, I felt like I would bring you here." And I said, "Oh, yeah, it's you who brought me here, right? Not the entities, not the free taster on the stories behind the stories, right? Of the unseen. It's you." So we left it over there, and then I was very, how should I say, enthusiastic to discover that when you allow entities to be there in your life without a point of view, they can be very playful and they can contribute in ways that you would not expect. So we came here, the room was not ready. I was like, we pay a lot of money for it and the room is not ready. But then I asked, so what am I aware here? Where else should I be right now that it's not in a hotel room? And we started to wander down the streets. We actually reached places in this town, which is very close to where we live. We reached places where we knew exactly it wasn't us who wanted to be there. It were the entities. So we ended up in this absolutely gorgeous cafe with the best cake ever I have tasted in Belgium. And opposite the cafe, there was this old building from the 1700 again, and it was called the Slechter. Now, Slechte, the Slechte. Slechte meaning the wrong one. Hello, old building, name the bad one, the wrong one, and it was full of books. We went there and we perceived the smell and we were like, "Oh, this is about old books?" And we both looked at ourselves like, "What is this?" We just, okay, entities. We went outside and then we started walking again. And we ended up, guess where? In a, how do you call it? Abbey. An old, ancient abbey that has been transformed into a restaurant. Now, the funny thing is, I wanted to go to the toilet. And on the way to the toilet, I was like, this really has the air of a monastery, of an abbey. Very interesting. So I go to the toilet, I come back, and then looking around, I perceive this kind of, how should I say, condescendent look on me. The first thing that happens, the girl serving us the wine has spilled the wine. I banged my head against the table. There were kids shouting behind us. Was all kind of activity which none of us was willing to be present with. And then when I looked at my husband, I said, hey, what are we aware of? And I started to play. I started to play with the tools that I have at hand. And the first thing that came across my mind was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Within 5 minutes, everything was silent, everything was calm, everybody was happy, we were enjoying our meal. And how does it get any better than that? Now, this whole thing with the taster is actually to invite you to something that's so easy and brings so much ease in your life, and that is entity awareness. How many times have you been walking down the street and you had this feeling that somebody is watching over your shoulder? There was nobody there, and you said, yeah, I'm paranoid. Really? Are you? Or was it truly somebody watching you? Or you entered the room and you had this strange sensation that somebody was floating above you and monitoring all your movements. Or you were in the shower and somebody was watching. Yeah, like creepy movies. Yeah. Or all of a sudden, there is this ray of light coming from nowhere, showing you a different perspective on something that you have already decided was a problem. You were upset, you were crying, and all of a sudden you have this sense of relief. You don't know where it comes from, but all of a sudden everything is fine. What if you allowed yourself to know that you're never alone, that you will never be alone, and that even when you're not alone, you're still the one in charge of your life? So I would basically throw some clearing statements at you, like, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Tonight is going to be playful. Tonight, I'm inviting you to ask a question. What am I aware of? You can ask this question anywhere. Is there a sensation in your stomach? What am I aware of? Your hairs go up? What am I aware of? All of a sudden you got chills? What am I aware of? And then the next step would be, what if you're not wrong? Because, it's very easy to say, oh, this and that and that and that. And if you're somebody like my husband who uses logics all the time, even if you have the biggest perception, the biggest awareness hitting you like this in your face, the first thing you're going to say is, I don't know. It's not logic. So what was that? Oh, there was nothing. Oh, it's maybe because the kids were upset, they were tired, maybe the waitress was, I don't know, it was the first day, so it's normal that she just splashes a glass of wine. Or yeah, the lady next to us just put a sweater on immediately after I did a few entity clearings. Yeah, it's normal. It was kind of chilly, right? We're in Belgium at 19 degrees. Yes, but there were 19 degrees before that as well. So my question to you would be, what are you aware of? And what if you're not wrong? Now, when it comes to entity awareness, it's very easy. We have always been aware of entities, always been aware of entities. But so few of us have got the tools to really question what we were aware of without making things significant. How? Entities. Okay, cool. So what am I going to do about this? Do I have to do something about that? Or is it as simple as, oh, entities, oh, there is wind, and then it's gone? Some of us have learned some tools of access consciousness and have talked to the entities. And by the way, those who don't know, I'm also a certified facilitator of access consciousness and have talked to the entities. And some of us use these tools like frantically. I'm aware of entities. Okay, cool. So what if this is not wrong? What if you're not wrong? And what if you didn't have to do anything about that? But what if you could be everything with that? What do I mean? What if instead going to, what do I have to do here? I want to get rid of them. How many of you want to get rid of your awareness? Just because other people do not agree with it, just because other people are not educated about entity awareness, doesn't mean that you're wrong. Doesn't mean that you are bad. Doesn't mean that you're, well, it does mean that you're weird. Are you willing to acknowledge how weird you are and how beautiful this is to be that weird? How many more magic, miracles, and mysteries do you have access to when you're willing to embrace, you know what? I'm weird. I talk to people, I talk to animals, I talk to plants, to buildings, to entities. And that's quite fine. Now, to me, it was this, how should I say? It started when I was a child. And I suffered a lot because people were telling me I always invent stuff or I invented stuff. I remember hours and hours and hours of sitting on the toilet and talking to imaginary friends. And it was the best moment of my of my day. And they were telling me that I was crazy. What if you're not crazy? What if you're aware of some things that other people are not aware of? Does this make you wrong? No. Does this make you special? No. Does this make you? Yes. Now, for those of you who struggle and say, yeah, I know, but I'm afraid. Now, I'm not going to talk about being afraid. What I'm inviting you tonight is to, what are you aware of? And what if you're not wrong? When you're willing to look at things from a different point of view, from a different perspective, there are so many other sides of the same knowing that can come to you. And there is one thing, if there is anything that you would take out today from this free taster, like, you know, like we come, we talk, we say, we go, is nobody, embodied or disembodied, can validate your awareness. It's only you who can acknowledge it. It's like this. Have you ever had a glass of wine with your friends or something that you shared, right? A meal, a glass of wine, something that you shared. And you sat at the table and everybody started to describe what they are perceiving, what they are feeling, what they are tasting, what they are smelling. And one says, wow, it smells like blueberries, for example. And the other one says, but no, there are wild cherries in it. And the other one says, no, it smells like roses. And the other one, are these people wrong? No, they have a different perception about what's in front of them. If you're allowing yourself to have your own perception, how rich would this world be? You know, the way you behave in your everyday life is actually an information on how you're dealing with the entities. There is no difference. The way you are in everyday life, the person you allow yourself to be in everyday life, it's also going to inform the way you are dealing with entities. So If you're somebody who looks for validation, who doesn't trust yourself, who has a hard time being a leader, this is what's going to come up in your interaction with the entities. The thing is, when you're asking for more consciousness in your life, entities are going to be there to show you where you're not choosing that and enhance all those places where you are choosing it. So what if entity awareness wasn't just a story, wasn't just something that you invent, but it's something that's actually going to give you more of who you truly be. The most extraordinary, magic, mysterious, miraculous creature that has ever walked on this planet and on so many others. So, what are you aware of? What if you're not wrong? Are you willing to own, claim, acknowledge what you're aware of? Cool. So, all this exploration I'm talking to you about for the last 15 minutes has brought to the world this book. And I was telling my husband today that it's probably a time to go write more on these stories of the unseen, as entities seem to be very, 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 very present and willing to have these stories written on paper, or at least shared. So, how many of you have always known that you would like to write that book, that story, would like to talk to people about what you are aware of with the entities, but you never dared? Well, I'm inviting you to take a leap, as I did. Take a leap, write the book, write the story. And when you're willing to do that, you are taking your biggest step ever towards acknowledging and receiving the beauty of entities in your life. So if anybody has a question, I'm going to answer it. One question or two questions, and then I'm going to read you one of the stories. I don't know which one would like to pop. And then we're saying goodbye, because this is only a taster. If anybody wants more, there's going to be an introduction to the tools, the very tools of Talk to the Entities, and a class on the tools of Talk to the Entities, and so much more in August, 24th to 27th August. So, who has a question? Anybody has a question? If you have a question, you can unmute yourselves and ask it. And if you require translation, we can provide it for you in Romanian, French, and Russian right now. No.
I haven't got a question, but I've got a quote from your book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you allow me to read it?
Of course.
Okay. It goes like this. Let your curiosity without judgment and your quest for more consciousness lead you. Follow the energy and allow the magic contribution of the feather-like presence of entities in your life be an invitation to be more of who you are.
Yeah.
Now, see?
I have to admit, it has an effect on me as well, because when you read it, it's like, did I write that? I did.
Yeah, you did.
I know I did. And please know that this book that I've written, which is in English right now, it's not my book. It's a cooperation with the entities. They actually told me which story should be in the book and what would be the language of the book and what would be the order of the stories. There were so many other stories that were supposed, according to my head, to land in the book, but the book didn't want them. They said, no, not this time, not this book. This is ours. And you can know where there's this kind of interaction. I mean, everything about this book has been ease. It didn't take me a long time to write them. It didn't take a long time to have it in the printed form. It was just ease. It was flowing. And yes, I had my moments when I said, I'm no longer doing this. This is awful. When you're willing to be conscious, when you're willing to ask more questions, you will be faced with those points of view that you wanted to hide from you and you didn't want to face. But hey, this is the beauty. When they come up, you have the tools, you have the classes where to learn the tools, you have the tools, and then you can deal with them differently. So I was like, which is going to be our story today? So I'm going through these stories okay, 88, page 88. It said, I want to be out. Ladies, don't worry if you do not catch the translation totally and fully. It's okay. Okay, cool. So it's called The Lady in the Channel. I'm going to read slowly for you to be able to translate. I have been living in Belgium for 17 years. And I have to confess that it took me some time to get along with the energies of the place. I love Brussels, and yet it used to drain me to go into the city and be among its people. It was always so busy, so crowded, so intense. I remember my first trip to Brussels city center. My husband, back then my lover, wanted to impress me, so he gave me a sightseeing tour of my home to be. We were driving along the channel when all of a sudden I panicked. What if he leaves me here? I wouldn't fucking know how to get anywhere from there. I thought to myself out loud. A sort of desperate uneasiness grabbed hold of me. My mind made a note. You're not safe. This is a dangerous place. He, playing the villain, heard me and laughed. Of course, he always does that. Every time we would pass by that spot in the future, he would say, imagine if I had left you there. And we would burst out laughing. However, that nasty feeling of panic was present with every drive along the channel at that particular place. Until it wasn't. A few months ago, on the same route, I had the same feeling and my husband was waiting for me to repeat the phrase. Oh my goodness, if you had left me here. All of a sudden, I was out of breath. I got dizzy and my vision blurred. I was gasping for air desperately, trying to unzip my winter coat. I removed the safety belt. I opened the window for air. My lungs would not open. I wanted to throw up, but there was nothing that would come out. Tears started running down my cheeks. In the middle of my panic episode, I shouted with frustration, what is this? What the fuck do I do with this? What is this? What do I do with this? Whatever it is, more ease, please. It took a question and a demand. The information download was sudden and intense. There was a lady, middle-aged, confused, crying, and struggling to breathe, choking and fighting for her last breath of fresh air. Kids Daughters, the information was still coming. I launched all the tools that came into my awareness to keep me present and allow the space for this entity to be present with me. When she calmed down, I told her that she didn't have to suffer any longer. She was no longer trapped in the car that fell in the water. She was free to go, visit her daughters if she wished, or to choose to find another body and be close to them. That fraction of a second of sheer sharp clarity was priceless. She left at peace. My breathing came back to normal, and I have never had that feeling of awkwardness ever again. My husband witnessed it in silence, perceiving the energies unfolding. He perceived the intensity of the exchange as well. I didn't mind what he was thinking or what he would say about it. I owned this awareness and the accuracy of my entity awareness. It only took me 17 years. So, my friends, even when the beloved ones don't believe you, don't bother. There's nobody there who can know what you know, because it's only you who knows what you know. And what if you owned, claimed, and acknowledged this as being your truth, regardless of what other people are saying? And one more thing, a lot of times people ask me, what if I'm inventing? You will know exactly if you're inventing. And you will know exactly when the download of information comes to you, because you are the one, the only one who can receive it at that moment. So, my friends, this is my invitation to you. Have a read if you would like to read this book. Have a chat with somebody who, teaches the tools of Talk to the Entities, or come to a class. Or why not just ask me a question wherever you find me, whether it's on Facebook or on Instagram or an email. I'm there. Are you willing to ask the question and start with, what am I aware of? So, my friends, any questions before we say goodbye? Yes, Augusta is sharing with you the link for the Talk to the Entities class in August. And for those of you, for the ones who speak French, there is a French edition in the making on the 17th to 19th of September in Mont Saint-Michel. I know, right? I found the best place on earth to have a Talk to the Entities class. So do you have any questions? You can write them in the chat. Let me see the chat. Hop, hop. Yay. Nobody's saying anything in the chat.
We are speechless.
Yeah, I know. I'm speechless too when I'm just aware. But now I had to put some words on whatever is happening around us. And yes, for those of you who already are familiar with the tools and who would like to, refresh or activate your muscles, a business hours class is starting tomorrow at 10 p.m. CET, 11 Romanian time. But it's only for those of you who have already taken a Talk to the Entities class. Smoke entities, how do they influence your body? Well, what do you know? Can they have an influence on your body unless you have a point of view that they can influence you? This is a fine topic to discuss in an intro evening. But yes, there are smoke entities. Yes, some of us like smoke entities. It doesn't mean that you're aware of them, you have to do something about them. But most of the times when entities have an influence on your body is when you have been resisting the feather-like touches of your awareness. So when they know there is a channel, they will be insisting, just like kids, to make you communicate with them, acknowledge them. Have you ever had kids around you that were so nasty? They were like, mommy, 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 mommy. And you said, no, wait, not now, wait, not now, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you turned around and said, no, what? And they were like, nothing. I love you. Bye. And they go away. What if I told you that 70% of the entities, the only thing they want is to be acknowledged, and they leave you alone? Can you imagine living lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of waiting for somebody to be able to hear you or to see you or to perceive you, and then you find that person, and then when you finally expect that somebody would communicate with you, that person says no and shuts the door? What, are you going to stay in front of the shut door? No, you're going to come in from the window, right? Yay! How many times have you done that? When you get a no, you get more insistent and more insistent and more insistent until the persons you want to get their attention, they get present with you. And then all of a sudden, everything you have insisted for is no longer interesting. So how does it get any better than that? Again, look at your life right now, and the way you interact with people might be the way you interact with disembodied people and other forms of identified energies. So, my friends, thank you so much for this taster. My translators, Amel, Julia, and Juana, you are wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and for making this available in other languages than English. Augusta, thank you so much for having hosted this call, and you'll all get a replay, and I'm inviting you to more. So what are you aware of? What if you're not wrong? Are you willing to claim, own, and acknowledge what you know? Kisses and hugs from this wonderful, absolutely gorgeous 1700 former church. And I would say follow the energy. That's it. Mwah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have fun.
Thank you.